Hey, bro. This is Robert Davis, the founder of Saving Cain. And today, I want to help you better understand what the phenomenon of being stuck is and then show you how to break free from it. So, without further ado, let's get started. Look, the reality of your current state of being will either depress you or inspire you. However, if your life is one that is not or has never been an inspiration, you are not alone. You belong to a fraternity whose entrapment by insignificance seems to be inescapable and goes far beyond the confines of being caught between the rock and a hard place. The common beliefs and excuses that are used amongst this fraternity for why they are in this state of being are as follows. Number one, this is how it is and how it's always going to be. Number two, you never catch a break, and every time you do, something bad happens. Number three, you don't think you deserve anything better. Number four, God is punishing you. And five, you can't win for losing. So if you can't get it in the right way, then get it any way you can. Let me be honest here. It never ceases to amaze me when brothers try to hold up or point to their illegitimate success as a bona fide sign of God's blessing or as proof that they have escaped from the bondage of insignificance. That would be hilarious if it wasn't so serious. Why? Because nothing could be further than the truth. Now, you can fool the people, but you cannot fool God. Because the truth is, you're not blessed, you're just good or have gotten better at what you do. In today's vernacular, this is called getting it out the dirt. And that mindset is a part of what I call the Cain mentality. But if you were able to ask Cain about that mindset, and if he were able to be honest with you, he would tell you that your illegitimate success or your getting it out the dirt is an unacceptable sacrifice God will never bless. Yet, like Cain, most brothers continue to trust the works of their own hands as they try to get rich and famous any way they can. But what they don't know or even care about is that although what Cain did after he was banished from the presence of the Lord might have made him rich, it did not make him famous. It made him infamous. And because he was a fugitive and a vagabond, he ran from vengeance every day of his insignificant life, and he never got delivered from that bondage. That, my brother, is infamy's reward. Hey, bro, forgive me, but I gotta get personal with you. Why? Because there's no other way for me to help you break free from the bondage of insignificance without doing so. So then let me ask you a couple of questions. Number one, have you ever stopped and taken a good look at how you got here? Number two, have you ever asked yourself why you and not them? Number three, have you ever asked them why you and not them? Number four, have you ever asked God why you and not them? And number five, are you willing to accept the answers? The reason I'm asking is this simple, yet at the same time very complex. It is simple because while it will be tough to find and accept these answers, once you do, it will make it easier for you to break free. It's complex because there's something unexplainable about this sad state of being. Everybody's got an opinion, but the membership rolls for this fraternity will always be full. The professionals think they have all the answers, but the bond of this brotherhood has never been broken. Those who are bound by it, most of the time don't even think they have a problem, so they don't seek help. And since everyone around them is in the same boat, together, they all just keep trying to get up the creek without a paddle. All right, my brother, before you start to pursue those answers, let me try to explain to you the unexplainable. I don't have all the answers, but I do know how to break free, and I'm going to share it with you. Now, this concept of something that is unexplainable is what is or can be called a phenomenon. A phenomenon is an occurrence or an experience that is uncommon, infrequent, unexpected, and unexplainable. Or it is a predictable and common experience that occurs frequently, yet is hard to comprehend and harder to explain. With that in mind, let me introduce you to and then help you understand the occurrence and experience that I call the phenomenon of being stuck. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 2 starts off with these words. There's a time to be born and a time to die. What that implies is that life is what happens in between. Life is the inhalation of breath, death is the exhalation of breath. And what that implies is that the ability and capacity to have your being is what happens while you're breathing. As it pertains to priority, it matters that your being uses its ability, or it matters that it lives. But it matters more if your being reaches its capacity or to live life to its fullest. Now, what will determine whether or not you live life to its fullest or that your being reaches its capacity is something called freedom. Freedom, my brother, is a phenomenon in and of itself because it is misunderstood. What I mean by this is that freedom does not just give you the right to do what you want anytime you want to do it. More importantly, it also means that you understand that you have the ability to reach your capacity or live your life to its fullest with resistance and without restraint. Now, resistance is a force that tries to hinder anything in motion, or it is a foe that is in opposition to the freedom of movement. Restraint, then, is the burden that stops your motion, the yoke that limits your movement, and the bondage that keeps you from attaining that freedom. The phenomenon of being stuck is the restraint or the bondage of mind, hands, and feet. This is so important to understand because to pursue the answers to the question I asked earlier, you have to be free in your mind to receive them, free with your hands to do something about it, and your feet have to be free to take you where you're supposed to be. This is the definition of living life to its fullest. But when you don't understand this, or continue to misunderstand freedom, you will never live your life to its fullest, or your being will not reach its capacity. All right, my brother, let me explain what that resistance is, and let's start with your mind. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as thy soul prospereth. 3 John 1 and 2. This is what the Apostle John's prayer was for the church in the first century. And this is my prayer for all my brothers and their families today. Now, there are 3 stages to the bondage of the mind. Number 1, what you see. How your experiences create and maintain your reality and your delusion, or how they positively and negatively impact your life. Number 2, what you believe. How your experiences direct your thoughts and shape the policies you live by. Number 3, what you say. How your experiences affect your verbal communication or how they express through your words. John's prayer for our health and prosperity was based on our soul prospering. Soul prospering entails our burdens being lifted, our yokes being destroyed, and our words being filled with grace. Now, during the course of this teaching, we will address each one. But for now, let's move on to the hands. Philippians chapter 3, verses 13 and 14 says, Brethren, I count myself not to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those things which are before, I press towards the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Paul, in his letter to the church at Philippi, shared with them his desire and his determination not to allow what he had accomplished in the past to stop him from reaching the higher dimension that God called him to. Now, for you to reach for anything, it takes hands that are free. And hands that are restrained will keep you from living in that freedom. Now, just like your mind, there are 3 stages of bondage to the hands. Number 1, your reach, the ability and capacity to stretch toward things you are hoping for and not settle for what's right in front of you. Number 2, your grip, the ability and capacity to let go of your past and grab a hold of the promises of God and His purpose for your life, then hold on until they are fulfilled or until you have apprehended what you have been apprehended for. Number 3, your fight, the ability and capacity to work out your salvation, to subdue your flesh, and to properly use the weapons of our warfare. As you can see, the hands represent faith by works in accordance with James chapter 2, verses 14 through 26. Now, let's move on to your feet. Therefore now, no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ hath made me free from the law of sin and death. Romans chapter 8, 1 and 2. And every place whereon your soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours. That's Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 24. All throughout our lives, our feet play a very significant role in getting us to where we want to go, to where we need to go, and where we're supposed to be. Feet that are restrained can't get to any of those places, and in fact, can't get you anywhere. Paul, in his letter to the church at Rome, tells us that to be free, we must walk in the Spirit of God. And in conjunction with the first part of Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 24, because of His Spirit, we can be obedient, and because we obey, everywhere we are led by His Spirit, or where we place our feet, He will give us dominion over. Again, like our mind and hands, there are 3 stages of bondage to the feet. Number 1, your stand, the preparation or ability, and the endurance or the capacity to not lose the ground or retreat from the places that God has given you dominion over, in spite of how strong the attack or the intensity of the resistance you will face. Number 2, your foundation, the substance on which you build your life on, and the solid ground on which you stand, so that you can fight the good fight until you break free and until Jesus comes. Number 3, your speed, the ability and capacity to get to where you're supposed to be at the right time and in the right season by the authority in Jesus to live, move, and have your being, or the freedom to live your life to its fullest. All right? Now, let's take a quick review. Understanding the phenomenon of being stuck. Number 1, the phenomenon of being stuck is the bondage or the entrapment of insignificance that seems to be inescapable and goes far beyond the confines of being caught between a rock and a hard place. Number 2, some beliefs and excuses for why you're stuck in that state of being are, this is how it is, You never catch a break. You don't think you deserve better. God is punishing you, and you can't win for losing. Number 3, if you can't get it the right way, then get it any way you can is a mindset of the Cain mentality that causes brothers to hold up or point to their illegitimate success as a sign of God's blessing or as proof that they are not a victim of this phenomenon. Number 4, infamy's reward is seen in the insignificant life of Cain, who was a murderer that had to run from an assassin named Vengeance every day and who never got delivered from that bondage. Number 5, how did you get here? Why you not them? Have you asked them why you not them? Have you asked God why you and not them? And can you accept the answers? The answer to these questions will help make breaking free easier. Number 6, there is something unexplainable about this sad state of being. Everybody has an opinion, and the professionals have all the answers. But this brotherhood has always stayed connected, and the fraternity roles will always be full. Number 7, a phenomenon is a happening or an occurrence, whether common or uncommon, that is hard to understand and harder to explain. Being stuck as a state of being fits that description. And number 8, freedom is a phenomenon of its own because it's misunderstood. Freedom does not just give you the right to do what you want. More importantly, it also means that you can live your life to its fullest, with resistance and without restraint. All right, my brother, this is a good place to stop. In my next post, I'm going to help you take the first step in breaking free. Then together, we're going to pursue the answers to the questions I asked earlier, so together we can, by His Spirit, live, move, and have our being, or live life to its fullest. Until then, if you have any questions on biblical manhood, on the Cain mentality, on controlling your anger, and much more, join us at Saving Cain and follow my blog, Manhood Rediscover, so you can get the help that you need, because we'd love to help a brother out. But as always, be good, be blessed, and remember, Jesus is Lord. Peace.